I've run into this situation quite a few times, especially when talking to larger company records managers and the challenges they have with uh, pre-existing repositories of documents. And this came up in a current conversation with a large energy customer where they had just done some acquisitions, and the file naming schemes within the companies that they acquired were not synonymous with what they currently use in their records management policies. So to give you an example of this, I've got a couple directories of large format drawings, and you can see this is a pretty messy file naming scheme. So SciCapture has some great capabilities to read file names as well as folder information, and then use that to rename the file. So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and take the naming scheme, reshuffle it, change the date format, and add some additional information from the parent folder. Okay. Now, once again, I've seen this where records managers want to process and rename and make files searchable. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is make these searchable PDFs, and the format will be PDF-A for archive. Okay, so I'm doing a lot of different things here, and I'm going to send them to two separate repositories. One's going to be just a folder structure. The other one's actually going to be Microsoft SharePoint, where I'm going to automatically create libraries. Okay, so you can see I've got these two folders, and the nice thing about SciCapture, I can go ahead and copy those folders. And then what I'm going to do here is drop them into an auto process folder. So we'll go ahead and paste them into SciCapture. And what's going to happen, the auto import service watches this. It's going to pick up any contents of the folders and bring them into the workflow. Okay, so during this process, I'm going to pull file name and metadata from the folder as well as the file naming scheme, and then I'm going to do that conversion to PDF as well. Okay, so you see now they're queued up, it's ingesting the documents, and it'll go through and process. Now, I can point this at a pre-existing structure and let it go. You don't have to actually drag it into the processing folder. There's ways to set it up so you can consume content that exists, but this is just one of the options. All right, so now the queue's gone, and now we're going to play the waiting game. So I'm actually going to pause the video and we'll pick up when these get recreated. Okay, so now you see that we went ahead, we processed these files. We actually built a folder structure on the way out with the project name, and then we renamed the files. So you'll notice a couple things. We actually added the project name onto the file. We changed, rather than using underscores, we're using dots. And then we actually brought in the date and changed the format to day, 3-letter alpha month, and then year. Okay, and this is a PDF-A. If you open it, you can see that I've got PDF-A here. And if I come into the properties, I've done some other neat things. To make this a complete record in the PDF-A, we've actually written data that we pulled from the file name into the header of the PDF. Okay, so now these are searchable just by the keywords and the standard header structure of the PDF. Okay, so that's the file share output. Now let's go ahead and look at SharePoint. So if I take a peek at SharePoint, you can see that I don't have a Bexar or Burleson library, and we can do some really neat things with SharePoint. So I've picked up these documents from a share, I've extracted data and folder information, and now I'm going to translate that into a nice pretty SharePoint layout. And I can do this with any of the other content management systems that we support. I'm using SharePoint just because that's what I have loaded. So here's the first one. You can see that the Bexar library was auto-created based on the project name. And if I click into that, you can see I've got a nice pretty naming scheme with those PDF-As in here, and I've populated column information. All right, and I've changed the date and done all that kind of fun stuff. So just by dragging and dropping, you can see that I've got a really powerful tool for file renaming, migration of documents, and conversion into a long-term archive format. If you have any questions, you can shoot a note to sales@scigen.com. Thanks.